there's a hypocritical thing people don't understand. Because if you come to me as a friend, you're like, Bonnie, you're like, yo, Mitch, you're my guy, let me do this for you. And I'm like, you talk to me nicely, you're like, man, I don't have a budget, but this is what I can do. And then people see me performing on your event and they come to you, Bonnie, they're like, Bonnie, how do we get Mitch to perform? And you say, net transport, man, I did this for you as a friend. But instead of you, because me, if you see any person on the manifest and you want them, I'll be like, man, this is his price. Because I'll ask my guy, is this your standard price?
Let's talk to them. Let's talk chicka. Let's talk to them. Let's talk to them. Let's talk to them. Let's talk chicka. Let's talk to them. Yeah, I'm from a beautiful place, the Pearl of Africa. Hailing with a 256, it's in my blood. That's a gem where the mountains rise, with stories untold. The tapestry of cultures unfolding, so vibrant and bold. A symphony of stars, a celestial light. The drums beating, echoing through the night, just like a beacon of light. A reflection that's coming up from the Nile. I'm flowing straight into the heart of Africa, with timeless stories untold. What's up, Doug?
Elevate your podcast game today. Are you looking for a perfect place to record your podcast in Kampala? Look no further. Danceoff Studios, located at Ivory Plaza on Wilson Street, Level 3, Room 4, is a perfect place for you. Danceoff Studios has professional recording equipment, comfortable and creative environment, expert for all your podcast needs. Book your session today. Find them on all social media platforms or reach out to them directly to secure your spot. Let them make your podcast dream a reality. Danceoff Studios, where stories come to life.
I think 5. I'll give you reasons later, man. Yeah.
No, you can go ahead and give us a reason.
I feel like if I'm at a 5 and someone comes at a 1, I can meet them at a 3. If I'm at a 5 and someone comes at a 10, I can meet them at a 7.5 or somewhere like that. So yeah, 5 is neutral.
Spoken word atandi say, Kati, get ready for the conversation.
It has to. You have to play safe, but yeah.
Let's go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Before you even get started, and I like this conversation the way it started today, it's every episode starts differently, and today you can already tell that we have the spoken word king in the podcast. But before even we get started, spoken word does not get enough respect for how much truth it carries in Uganda. And I'm so excited to have this conversation today. To talk about spoken word, I've hosted a few people that will talk about, that I've talked about spoken word. Kavera Angel, I've hosted Irene Mutuzo. Yeah, she's been on
Noisy,
the podcast.
I think, yeah, Noisy, yeah.
And today I'm sitting down with Isabirye Godfrey Mitch Junior, a spoken word artist, a poet, a writer, the executive producer of Mitch's Manifest. Mitch has been outside this year collaborating a lot, especially in Nairobi, and now he's about to perform in Juba. People in Juba, get ready for him. I don't know if this episode will come out. It might come out after you've performed, but yeah, people in Juba, get ready for the first time, which is a big deal. What I really appreciate is that Mitch believes in documenting our stories, and that's exactly what we're doing here. Brother Mitch, welcome to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show, my brother.
Oh man, it has been a long time coming. It's an absolute pleasure, it's an absolute pleasure to be here.
And that's where I want to start from. It's been, and I think you know it better than I do, but on my end, and I'll give you a chance to talk about on your end. On my end, I've actually had 3 people ask Mitch to be on the podcast. The first time I hosted Kavera Angel, you remember her episode on the podcast?
Yeah.
I have this question I ask people, who would you like to see on this podcast next as a guest?
Yeah.
And they recommended Mitch. A second person, my brother Derek Senyonga. I don't know if you know that name, but Derek is an artist. He paints pictures. And he met you at a gala or like a art gallery one time, and I think you were performing there. He took your contact and he reached out to me. He's like, Bonnie, I want you to host this guy on your podcast. Here, his number. He's called Mitch Isabirye. The third person is my friend called Nakandi. She goes by Candy on Instagram.
Yeah.
She messaged me on WhatsApp. She's like, Bonnie, I don't always ask a lot of people on your podcast, but I want you to host this guy on your podcast. This is my request for this year.
How, man?
And you personally, you and I have had a conversation before. You asking me about getting on the podcast a while back, and we've been like trying to figure out when to do it, when to work. But fortunately, I get to have you on the podcast today. So how is your other story of when did you find out about the podcast and how you wanted to?
I feel like you don't rush greatness. Timing. I
No.
feel like anytime the energy is in sync, something works out, because we even adjusted the dates and what. But when you came to us, like, you know what, man, it's a Monday. Because my Monday is like my weekend. I don't leave the house. I don't see anyone. I don't that's how I treat my Mondays actually. No. Yeah, like on a serious note, but I was like, you know what, let's do it. It's a Monday. But now I've been following the conversations and because you've had Joff. I think one time you had an event around Kampala, Eduardo Kayondo, Joff the poet and what amazing guys. I was like, actually, you've had Babaluku. Have you had Spider as well?
I had Spider,
think you've had a couple of people I respect and what. So I was like, actually, it takes a lot for someone to be interested in archiving our stories. And this is something I also want to do as a person, because I try as much as possible to document my pieces, or as much to invest in archiving as a person. So whenever I see someone who is archiving and what, I'm like, I just need to be part of something. That's all.
And that is deeper there, and we're going to talk about this definitely later on in our conversations. But I'm glad that you pointed that out. And there's a picture of this podcast that I wanted to have our stories documented. Like for as long as we have time, these stories are going to be up on the YouTube for forever, for ages, and people will always come back and listen to our stories. And a lot of people don't know these stories. That's why they have a different narrative about the work that we do. And definitely spoken word has been something that is an industry that's growing in Uganda right now.
I don't want to use the word industry.
Okay.
The reality is it is still a scene. Because, by the time something becomes an industry, that means it involves different players. So to be realistic with the current state of spoken word as an art form in the country, it is still a scene, actually. We're at a level of a scene, trying to figure out stuff, trying to put ourselves there. But calling it an industry is a stretch, actually. It's unrealistic, but it's something we can work towards too.
And that's why I'm going to ask you the first question is like, what would it take for it to become an industry?
An industry, for something to become an industry, that means it has so many players. I can give you an example. You can see music, right? There is one artist, but there are lawyers getting paid. You can hear URA is getting paid. Food vendors, guys who are collecting royalties. You understand, like it takes many people of different professionals and experiences to make something work as an industry, But we're at a point where, some people are getting paid, some people are not getting paid. So we know the things. Some people take it as a hobby, so it can be an industry when it is a hobby at the end of the day. So yeah.
And we're gonna get deep into that. I like that the conversation already kick-started just from the few words that we've talked about. But man, I like to greet my guests. Like, how are you really doing right now?
I usually tell people, man, being a Ugandan is a feeling. So right now I can say I'm a Ugandan. So whatever comes with being Ugandan, that's how I'm feeling. Yeah.
I'll take that. Yeah, that's
so
good.
Fun,
Somebody went ahead and said being a Ugandan is a full-time job.
Yeah, man, it is. But it is a feeling, actually. So I feel Ugandan.
I don't have this in my notes, but like this segment is just called Talk and Talk. It's where we get to just start talking before we break. You did a collaboration with Mama Kampala on her album?
Oh, no, it wasn't an album, but we did. Oh, Mama, I usually forget, man. Yeah, Maritza. I call her Mariza, but
Maritza.
It was. It's a project under the Tribe Africa. Yeah, it's called Poetry in Motion. So we're trying to. It's we're like 8 poets because it has me, Maritza, Mama Kampala, Mark Henrietta Wake, who produced it. It has Davis the poet, Lake, Jason Taro, and Angel Cabera. So it was like they paired 2 poets to come up with a project on different narratives. But it was a project, I think, under GIZ and African Union. just trying to figure out migration or travel, how travel is around the continent. Given now, how it is a little bit strict to get a visa, to do what, movement, and yeah. Now it is even complicated even on the continent, because you might find a flight from here to a country like in West Africa is like 600 USD. And you're finding actually now a flight from here to Germany is like 700 or 800, depending how you book. And you would expect it to be the other way around.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's one of those projects where we came together to try to tackle the idea of movement, because we need free movement at least around the continent, where people you don't need a visa, you don't need stuff like that.
That is a good project. And actually, you talk about something I've never even thought about. I bought a ticket from the US to Uganda for $800.
Yeah.
So if you're buying a ticket to just go within the continent and they're charging, it's kind of crazy. Yeah. Man, I've never thought about that, and I'm glad that you shared that. It's on my head now to think about. Anyway, on this podcast, I have about 4 segments that we walk through. The first one is breaking the ice, which, it's a Monday, so we need to break the ice. We've already started chewing on it.
Yeah.
Before I go to this or that, actually, this is something I wanted to say, but I forgot. I wanted to, when you talked about poetry not being an industry yet, it kind of sat on my mind just being think about it, because to me, I've been looking at it as like, man, this thing has grown. You look at what Kabera is doing, look at what Geoff the poet is doing, look at what you're doing, look at what Irene is doing, look at what Wake is doing, look at what Mama Kampala is doing, and many, many other poets that I might have forgotten, but these are the ones that stand out because I've had a conversation with them.
Yeah.
To me, I've been looking at it as like, it's actually it has grown. I know it still has a
long way to go, but yeah.
But I feel like it's grown.
I think it's getting more visibility and people are appreciating it more.
Yeah.
But we want it to get to a level where it's actually more sustainable. You're like, you know what? Full time you're a poet, many players and what. Many kids reach out to me. They're like, I want to be a poet, and then I ask them, what else can you do? You know what I mean? Because I need to be real with the kids. I usually tell people, when you focus on poetry for the money, it's actually depressing. But when you focus it for other reasons, it's one of those platforms that are healing, actually. Like, okay, these are things we cannot easily attach a monetary value to them. Like, you're feeling good, you're feeling okay, you feel healed, mentally and what. But yeah, it's depressing when you focus on it for the money. But sometimes when you're going through a lot, you just be around a poetry community and you feel, life is worth living at the end of the day. So
yeah, that's something I was sitting on my head and just aired it. But I know this podcast is dedicated to spoken word. We're going to dissect every single thing, and we're just going to have a conversation through it. I know some of the things we have already touched on might come back, but just kind of giving it a depth. But let's start with my first segment that I usually do. Is called This or That.
Yeah.
This segment is where I ask you 2 things.
Yeah.
You pick one. Feel free to explain why you're picking that and you're dropping the other, or feel free to say, that's my answer. I don't really have an explanation for it. But 2 things you can't say. You can't say both, and you can't say neither. You got to pick one.
You're being a dictator, but it's okay. You're Ugandan. We know where it comes from. But
all right, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. We're good to go.
Open mic or headline show?
Okay, let me ask, as an artist or as someone who is attending?
As an artist.
As an artist. Open mic show.
Okay.
Well, I would love to headline shows and that, but it takes a lot from you, mentally, emotionally, and that it drains you actually. So, but for open mic, there are so many people. You will just do your set and also sit down and enjoy. But doing a headline show, that means you're focusing on yourself. You're not even enjoying the show, or you're just performing and that. So yeah, I prefer open mics because I'm being a fan, but also I'm performing. So it's two-way.
Write first or feel it first? If you're writing like a poem or a piece of something, do you write it first and feel it later, or you feel it first and then write it?
I feel it first because sometimes like, there are so many thoughts, but by the time I write, that means I'm trying to sift through all the thoughts to try to narrow down to what exactly I want to write. So yeah, feel first.
Small room or big stage?
Small room. The intimacy that comes with the small rooms. I mean, this is an art form that requires listening as a skill. At the end of the day, with an art form that is not paying so much money, the least you can earn is get paid in attention. And I feel like a small room you can control and you can have maximum attention. You want to be heard. You want people to listen. So yeah.
It comes off really good. Like when, even with these artists like Morris Chia, when he does like a small room, like that kind of music, like people connect with you so good. But sometimes on a bigger, it's nice to have a big event because you're making a lot of money.
Yeah.
But like the impact is different.
Yeah. So small room for me.
Collabs or solo performance?
I'm at a point in time this year where I've focused more. I've done so many collaborations, but there's some cons and pros that comes from collabs, and also the same for solo performances. But I would prefer solo performances. Let me tell you why. Because collaborations, for something to work out as a collaboration, you have to contribute. I feel like you have to contribute equally for something to be good. There's a saying that says, not to be selfish, but I'm just saying sometimes when someone's energy is low, I think it kind of affects you. So a collaboration is good when you all come through. I want you to think about it as a class project. Everyone has done their part and the presentation is really good. But imagine you're doing everything and other people. So I would prefer a collaboration if the energy is good for. But to play safe, a solo performance, because I'm counting on myself. So whatever goes wrong, that is on me. So yeah. But collaboration, sometimes it can be you letting down the whole project. So yeah.
And a lot of people ask, I'll put it in the context of a podcast. A lot of people ask me, do you ever think of getting a co-host? It will be cool to bounce off another person's energy.
Yeah.
But then the cons of that, Ate, I'm sick. Ate so Ate, I have a barrier. Ate, today my cat is sick. Ate, and then you fail to deliver because somebody else is letting you down. Sometimes when you're solo, you kind of just plan ahead and make it work. Regional impact or global recognition?
Global recognition.
You took time to think about that one. I want to hear your solution.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. They might seem like two different things, but both feed into each other. When you're recognized globally, people will appreciate you more locally. I don't know if I'm making sense. We try to appreciate alien things or things that are not Ugandan. We appreciate them more. We are like, oh, okay. They're recognizing him on a global level. Who is he? People tend to pay more attention than, so yeah.
I think I've asked somebody else this question. This wasn't part of your list, but it's something that came up from having a conversation with Kabera. She said something, and this was just her opinion, that she would feel happy, people knowing her work before knowing her as a person. Like, I think that's what she said. I think I'm quoting her right. Like, she would be okay with people knowing her work without knowing who did it. Yeah, I think so. And then, so like knowing the work first and knowing her later. What would be your view on that? Would you want people to know you first before your work?
The reality is, man, if I had an option of not being known, yeah, and I'll get paid when people know my work, at least I would, yeah, man. Because there are some things I didn't expect I didn't expect or I didn't foresee with being known. Like, people find me in the most awkward situations and I'm like, yo, chill, man. I'm just walking around the neighborhood. Let me be. But one thing is, people buy the artist and not the art. Like, a time comes, they're like, oh, Mitch has done something. People just want, it's like, oh, it's Mitch. You know what I mean? It's yeah. That's what I'm saying. People buy the artist and not the art. But if I had an option of people knowing my work and not, because man, I want to perform, and when I'm off stage, and I just want to be normal. I just want to live life. But yeah.
Mitch, I'm already enjoying just listening to you and just picking your brains on some of these spoken word and just your life and personality, which I really enjoy. I love these conversation back and forth and just getting to learn people. And I do this with an impact of like helping people getting to know your work,
Yeah.
getting to know you as a person, and hopefully that adds a break to your journey and to my journey too. I tell people that this is not just about me; it's about us lifting each other. Like, you're definitely helping me to have this podcast, because if there was no guest,
Yeah.
there wouldn't be a
Yeah.
podcast. Or even if there was, like, we bounce off each other's energy.
Yeah.
So we rise by lifting each other up. So this brings us to our next segment. This next segment is it's a main conversation where we talk about your life, your journey, and like I said in the beginning, we're gonna mainly dissect the spoken word, whatever we called it in the beginning. We didn't call it an industry. What did we call
It
it?
is a
We
scene.
called
It is a scene right now. It is a scene.
a scene.
Yeah. Not the industry. It's an overstretch actually. So yeah.
Taking us a bit back in your life, when did you realize that words were your thing, not just writing, but performing them as well?
I think I've always been a loud child, because I remember
Really, you look humble.
every time, no, like because now it's different. I get paid to speak, so I need to reserve the capital. I need to reserve the capital, but every time like it's on a weekend, my mom is going to sleep. She would actually call me and caution or precaution me. She's like, I feel I'm tired. Don't make noise. But somehow, 10 minutes into, I'm behind, knocking on the window and stuff like that, shouting and what. But yeah, I think the year is 2017. I have a background in environmental science, so we are at a climate change boot camp. Yeah, man, it's a boot camp, man. I was paying attention, but I was there for the vibes, man, backbenching and stuff. I mean, the food was good and stuff. No, it was paid stuff. In the hotel, there's a swimming pool, man. It was about the vibes. But one thing that stood out that caught my attention, some guys came, they called themselves the story people. So the story people, I think his name is Alan Kayondo. I hope I don't butcher the name, but Kayondo, the story people. These guys come as part of the boot camp, and they're using stories, but stories about climate change and stuff. So they caught my attention. That was my first time. I remember that day Kayondo came with one of my friends. Is called Davis the Poet here. Shout out to Luaf Road Press. He's one of those guys who are also holding it down for the scene, or I could say. But yeah, that was my first time to interface or to have an interaction with spoken word. But later on, Makerere has one of the longest running spoken word platforms or spaces. It's called Kelele at Makerere. I think this year it celebrated 10 years. I'll be forever grateful to them. So I used to commute at uni. So one day I got to see a friend. He's called Ochen Walter. So I'm forgetting the hostel. So I was supposed to be his wingman. I think you know what wingman means. So he was supposed to go see some babe, but the babe had a roommate. So I was supposed to be a wingman. I come, create the 1v1 situation so my guy can talk to the girl while I talk to the roommate. So now I'm just telling you the story.
Yeah.
We reached there. We say what's up. I start my winging duties and what and what. But on that day, there is some gentleman called Daniel O'Mara. Right now, he relocated to Russia. Daniel O'Mara, he was a poet, but now he's a musician in Russia. Shout out to Daniel O'Mara. I hope he can watch this podcast. He's like, no, there is some event called Kelele. I was like, okay, let's go. And I check it out because that was my route to home. It happens at Makerere Art Gallery. I reached there. That day, the event they had was about fossil fuel and stuff like that. So imagine me, someone who has a background in environmental science, and these guys are just artists who have come together and are doing something about fossil fuel. But I remember on that day, few performances caught my eye, but there's some gentleman called Achelam. He goes by the name S. Achelam, right now he's a professional medical doctor. Actually, man, shout out to Achelam. Man, even got wedded like, I don't know, last week. I think on Saturday, Achelam has a wedding. So I remember after the performance, I walked to Achelam. I was like, have you ever recorded this piece? That piece is called Play It Again, Selector. It's called Play It Again. It's one of those amazing pieces because I remember the last line of the piece. You know how you're new to a space, and when the piece is about to end, he's like poetry, and everyone raises their fists up. They're like poetry, the revolution. They scream. I was like, oh, everyone knows the piece, and I don't know it. So that was my first time to interact with Kelele. So me, I thought it happens every Friday. The next Friday I came back, I bounced. The event wasn't there. So yeah, I gave up. I was like, you know what? Maybe I miss it. But it happens bi-weekly, every after 2 weeks. So that's how it happens. So somehow one time I was doing my graduate training at NEMA. One of those days where just chilling casually, I landed into one of I think USA spoken word artist is called Prince EA. He was doing a poem about the environment. I watched what he was doing. Then that was the first time I saw a piece about the environment. I was like, oh, actually, I can do this. So I wrote my first piece. It was called Green Native. So yeah, that is how my story starts. Then later, I'm on YouTube.
That is crazy.
I land on the original Mutabaruka, one of the legends from Jamaica, original Mutabaruka. So yeah. But my first time to perform, actually, there is a place, it was called Tontom at 32. I met a gentleman called Hamza Chimera. Hamza, he's a visual artist. He introduced me to a space that was curated by some guy called the Rap Poet. Yeah. So that was the first time I performed. But some of the few people I remember on that day that were in the room the first time I performed, I think there was a lady called Arinda Duffin. One of my favorite people, she's called Samantha, the emotional stripper. Some gentleman, I don't know, I think he went back to Tanzania. Then a rap poet was there. Then a gentleman called Magezi Philip, he's a photographer. At least I remember a few names. So yeah. So that's the first time I performed here, to cut the story short.
Usually when people are sharing their story or their journey, I don't like interrupting them. This is one thing that I like to do on the podcast, just give you the platform and just go. And there are a few things I've learned from what you just walked through, like your journey. The fact that you remember the people on your journey and how it started, mentioning their names and knowing where they are. Like, I give you respect. Like, a lot of people will talk about their journey and they just focus on themselves, on what they were able to achieve, what they didn't achieve. But like you walking through your journey, you remember the people, oh, this guy did this for me, this guy did this for me, this guy did this for me. And kudos to you that I would say it's only one name that you struggle to remember, but you know this guy went back to Tanzania or something like that. Some of the people you've mentioned, they went on to leave poetry now. The other guy became a musician. You said another guy became something else. Is this something you think in the future you'll also like move on to something else?
I want to tell people, I don't feel like this is a destination for me. I just feel like this is a journey, man. This is a journey. Wherever I'm just trying to figure out where the destination is. But for the time, I'm just going easy on myself. I'm embracing the journey. I'm enjoying some highs. Learning from the lows, meeting so many new people. Yeah. So right now, I'm just experiencing the journey. That's all I can say. My destination, I mean, we shall find out. But yeah.
It's amazing to even hear those names. Some of them I've never had them before, but maybe the people who tune in to watch the podcast will know. But let's talk about the scene. It's not an industry, it's a scene. How do you, and we touched a little bit, bits and bits of it while we're studying. How do you honestly feel about the state of spoken word in Uganda right now?
I'm grateful, by the way. I have to be grateful. The fact that, I mean, you hosted like four poets on this podcast, I mean, that is a win, actually, you know what I mean? I'm grateful and very optimistic. I'm like, so many opportunities are going to work out for us. The collaborations and all this stuff. People are recognizing, our platforms are coming up. Festivals are coming up, strictly for poetry. But I just want us to reach a point where we can attract a sponsorship, where people want to associate with us because of the value we bring to society. You know what I mean? But yeah, right now I'm just grateful and optimistic.
You touched a little bit on sponsorship. With what you have currently, do you feel supported? Do you feel the spoken word is supported?
Let me tell you, I run the manifest as a person, but I've worked with Goethe Zentrum. Shout out to Uganda German Culture Center. They've come through for me, but I'm at a point where, because there is a friend of mine called Nze. Nze, he's one of those poets we started with. Nsubuga Muhammad. He goes by Nze. But this is some guy. Every time he's one of those sponsors that have been consistent with my journey and what. I sometimes be like, you know what? Let me just buy 5 tickets and what. That small thing, at least 5 tickets, I can add that money to production. Once in a while, your friends come to, because now the last show I had, a friend of mine, Fazil. Shout out to Fazil. Yeah, Fazil O'Neill, actually, you should check him out. He's one of those dancers. Right now, he's based in Switzerland, but yeah, we collaborated on a residency, and that he was like, you know what, man, let me just come through and help out with the production. Someone is giving you like 100 euros or something. So for me, I'm grateful for those small things that come through, even if the big sponsors are not coming through, but there are some people who are seeing the worth and they are jumping on the journey. Once in a while, you're like a friend, because sometimes I don't want someone to feel guilty or the burden of guilt. You're like, why have I not supported? I want someone to come to as a fan or because they love what I'm doing. And by the time someone comes to, they're like, man, for the next show, I want to support. How should I come through? I can offer 300 euros. You can use this for production and what? Yeah, I'm making the step there. And shout out to Odu Art. He's one of those people who keep coming through for the show. Even my friend, a sister, she's called Jackie Kalange Katesi. Yeah, she's a visual artist, but this is someone who's like, you know what, for the next show I can do this. Let me try to. Yeah. So for me, those small things. Then you're collaborating with other people. Someone is like, you know what, I will come through and do free sound engineering for event. I've worked with Molika Studios in the past times and what. I've worked with Fancy Media. They take the photos of this event, but at a subsidized price. And these are my friends.
Shout out to
Kutesa. Nathan Kutesa,
Yeah.
man. Yeah. This guy, every show he has come through, man. And he's like,
he took the pictures on my live podcast.
He's like, man, I'm coming from Masaka. I'm like, yo, just come through. Then even Moa, who has now, Moa is one of those guys. Moa Hillary, actually. Moa shows up. He's like, man, last time the lighting wasn't okay. I'm like, Moa, I don't have a budget, man. For now, he's like, okay, don't worry. He has like 4 lights, 5 lights. He's bringing in 3 extra cameras, and I don't even know how I'm going to sort more, but I'm like, let's do it. So, yeah, I'm grateful and I'm grateful for those amazing people. So, yeah.
I love when I asked you the question, you didn't just go off to cry about how the big sponsors have not come through, but instead you focused on the people that have come through, and this explains why you say you're grateful. And that's a good mindset to have, like not to focus on what we don't have.
But even before even the venues, man, man, because I'm at a point where I'm doing venues around Kampala, but I'm at a point where I've not paid for any venue, because I was at UJ Izakaya. They came through from there like, yeah, we would actually love to be part of that. Then I was doing with Bite of Benin. Shout out to Linda, by the way. Linda Tibot, she's a Nigerian woman, but she's based in Kampala. She has supported the arts and the poetry scene so much, because for you to have an event at Bite of Benin, their garden, it's like 1.5. But Linda, she's like, no, Mitch is my guy. He's not paying. Let us have him here. So even the venue people, even National Theatre, they'll be like, you know what, Mitch, we can give you the space because we've worked with you before at a very subsidized rate, the one which you can handle. So, yeah.
So good, and shout out to all those people that have come through. But the next question I'm going to ask you is kind of similar but different from that. Yes, there's people that have come through to help you to build whatever you're building, but also you get to a point where you also need to earn something because of what you're doing. This is something you're doing as a career, as something. But I've seen, and talking to other spoken word artists, I've seen that somebody will have an event. They want a spoken word artist to come and perform. But then they don't have a budget for that person, but they have a budget for the other people that are going to attend.
Yeah.
Do you think we as consumers value poets the way they should be valued?
It's actually heartbreaking, and because you look at the budget, someone is bringing a mainstream artist, and you know, and they're paying them like 20-fold, or someone is like, I can afford transport and what. But there is one thing I learned is we are going to insist. We are going to keep insisting, and also forcing our way through to a point where we shall be accepted. Like, you just need to insist, and people will be like, you know what? Yeah, let us open the spaces for them. So yeah, I think that is one thing we've done, and we shall keep doing it. We shall ask for the money, we shall ask for the budget. And there is the hypocritical thing people don't understand. Because if you come to me as a friend, you're like, Bonnie, like, you're Mitch, you're my guy, let me do this for you. And I'm like, you talk to me nicely, you're like, man, I don't have a budget, but this is what I can do. And then people see me performing on your event, and they come to you, Bonnie, they're like, Bonnie, how do we get Mitch to perform? And you say, oyonezina akwata net transport ya mukole. Man, I did this for you as a friend, but instead of you, because me, if you see any person on the manifest and you want them, I'll be like, man, this is his price, because I'll ask my guy, is this your standard price? You know what I mean? So if I do something for you as a favor, as a friend, I mean, it would be respectful to acknowledge my red card and that.
Right.
And shout out to Kabera. I like Kabera so much. You know, I respect her as an artist, but as a human being. Or at some event last week on Friday, and she said, people are not comfortable with conversations around money as artists. Say your price. Someone out there can afford the price. So to all the artists out there, all the spoken word artists out there, man, don't be scared of your red card. If people want the person, or they want your services, someone will come and look for you as a person. So yeah,
that's the word right there. And I was talking to another friend of mine. He's starting a podcast, and he's struggling. Like, people are not coming through. People are promising him this, and then they don't come through. It's hard when you're starting, and when we don't have numbers, you don't have like 1 million followers or something. Somebody says, hey, I'm gonna come through, and then they don't come through. I told him, like, no matter where you are, no matter what point you are in life, you have to have your own values. Like, yes, I only have 5 subscribers, I only have 2 views, but I'm not selling my soul for this because I don't have that. Like, this is my value.
But I tell him, you see now, this is the problem. This is hypocritical to even the people who are starting. Like, you're starting out, right? Why are you looking for big names? Extend your grace to other artists who are starting out. I mean, it works for both of you. Like, lift them, like, try to work it at such a level until you can reach a time. I mean, why do you want to get the guys who are already made and you've not even been part of the... Like, build your story around someone who's starting, man. Extend the same grace. I just feel like sometimes we are not extending the grace, or we are not realistic. We want... Imagine you want people who have made a name to come through on your podcast, but you've not made a name. But when someone who doesn't have a name wants to be a guest on your podcast, you don't extend the same grace. You understand how hypocritical this is? Like, extend the same grace. Start with someone there.
If you go back 3 years ago when I started this podcast, all the people you will see on that list, most of people don't even know these people. Like, these are upcoming. Like, I was trying to get my friends, anybody is doing something, come to the podcast, let's do this. It was helping me build up. But to this point, even the big names can just call me like, hey, Bonnie, I want to come on the podcast. Njagala kujja kugera kayimba kange. Wanjagala kujja kola chi. Like, they'll reach out to you. But even in this period where I have an opportunity to have the big names on the podcast, like the likes of APAS, Sasha Vibes, Kansime, anybody, I do this thing every month where I bring somebody that's doing amazing work. It might not have the numbers, but I want to continue with that. As my podcast is growing with the big names, I want to bring somebody that might not have
you're extending the same grace that people extended to you when you're so
Yeah. So like as we go up, I'll come with somebody with me. Come with somebody with me.
yeah.
But yeah, you bring a big point, and people who are starting out need to focus on. You can't start out at a high speed. You need to start building power, like till you get to where you want.
It's beautiful when you see the people you started with are also growing. You know how good you feel. You're like, man, we did that podcast when no one knew that person, but when you look back, you're like, this guy is doing amazing. That kind of contentment you feel and gratitude with me. So yeah.
That's amazing, man. I love this conversation of back and forth and getting to learn from you, and because we're all like in the creative industry and just learning things from you, from your own journey, which I can apply in my own journey. But this year, I've seen you doing a lot of collaborations, and you said you've been doing collaborations, especially in Nairobi. What pulled you in that direction?
Man, the reality is, you know how you go into a new space, and first of all, you feel bad. Then you feel jealousy. Then you feel motivated. Then you feel proud, like those kind of emotions and what and what. I have a friend of mine. I think it's Ibrahim Solo who introduced me to this gentleman, Ibrahim Solo, and a friend called Hilary Balejusa, John Hilary. This guy is called Ian Gwaji. Yeah, Ian. I hope I don't butcher his name, but he runs something called Creative Spills in Nairobi. This is someone who has been around poetry for like 16 years. This is someone, you know how you have conversations and he's like, my goal is to see, this is someone who sacrificed himself being an artist to start creating bridges and spaces for artists. You know how much it's, you need to sacrifice yourself. You're like, okay, let me step out away from the limelight and work on facilitating these guys who are the front line and what. Because this is a gentleman who runs the Creative Spills. He runs the Kenya Poetry Slam. There is a poetry festival coming up. There is New Poetry. He runs something called Poets You Should Know. He has created all these platforms and what and what. So me being with him and what and unlike Uganda, Kenya, it has like a decentralized system for contemporary art. Nairobi has its own poets and stuff. Story. Go to Mombasa, the same. It has its own story and stuff. Go to Kisumu, it has, because even Kisumu, they run the East African Poetic Hour. So for me, unlike Uganda, where we are all based around Kampala, because you're like all the poets are trying to come around Kampala. Gulu had the poetry scene. I don't know how it's working out. Lira, they are trying to push their own thing, but I don't know how it's working out. So everything is around Kampala, you know what I mean? But it would make sense if something is sustainable in Gulu, something is sustainable in Barara, something is sustainable in Jinja, something is sustainable in Bali. And that is something Kenya have done. And at the same time, as long as someone is starting something new and it's poetry, I'm willing to be part of the journey. It's the same reason why I'm also traveling to go and perform to Juba. Shout out to Simons. Yeah, he started something called the Backstage South Sudan. I remember I was with him in Nairobi in April and we're having this conversation. I told him, you know what, when you start, I'll come through. So it's me, because my word is my bond, holding my end of the bargain. He started his thing and I just want to be part of the journey because 3 years or 4 years from now, when it's one of the biggest things on the region and world, I want him to look back. He was like, yeah, he came through for me when no one would come through. So yeah.
And actually, that's what I was going to touch on because you're performing in Juba on the 20th of December.
Yeah.
I know you've talked about how you want to come through for your friend, but like, what does that moment really mean to you personally? Like adding on to you helping out your friend?
I just don't want to get comfortable in the poetry community. It feels like it has a ceiling. You cannot break the ceiling. And the more you get comfortable, I think there comes a laxity. of the work you're like into. So that feeling you've made it. And for me, I just don't want to get comfortable. I'm trying out as new spaces as much as possible. I'm like, as long as it's a new space, I'm going to check it out. Sometimes you need to be humbled. You go to an audience and they look, that humbling, you go back and get to work. So yeah, but also I just need to like a new audience, new experiences and that. So yeah.
And so you performed in Nairobi, you're going to go to Juba, and you've performed in other places.
Yeah, I've been to Kigali, I've been to Ghana and that. So yeah.
Do you ever notice a difference in how regional audiences receive spoken word compared to home, like back in Uganda? And what's the difference like?
I do, but you don't blame. These guys have nurtured their audience. Sometimes listening is also a skill. So we have to teach our people to listen as well, So yeah, it's some of the things, because I've been doing the manifest from 2022. Next year I'll be celebrating 5 years. So for me, there are some people who have been coming. You can see they know what to expect. You know what I mean? So these other regions have nurtured an audience that listens, and this is something also we have to do here. So yeah.
I was hosting Anne Kansime, and she said whenever she performed outside Uganda, she received more love than home. And like she would go to Kigali and just open her mouth and everybody's like, Kansime. But when she's performing in Kampala, like you really have to work so hard to make these people like laugh or even like respect you or even like give you the same love.
It goes back to what you asked me in the first place. Global impact, global recognition, or regional impact. Our people, people usually appreciate things that are, that are international or exported or alien to us. So we try to, I think naturally as Africans, we are polite and hospitable to visitors. That's what, like as long as someone is a visitor, we try to, to treat them nice and stuff. I think it extends to the audiences as well for performers.
And that's funny that you say that, because let's just look at the music industry for a second. You see an artist coming out of the country comes, they don't even announce. Tebakubana bulango. Nega inaija, najuza ekifo. Naye local artist akuba akalango kuva 3 months for an event. And people still don't show up.
That is yeah.
But I think it goes back to even like if you put the analogy of the podcast, like when I create this podcast, people who know me, like they don't really support me like that, which I've grown to learn, and I don't blame them. But like it's more of like some people know you to a personal level that they don't feel the need to support you because they know you. But then there's people who don't know you, strangers that come to your work as like, this is amazing work.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Somebody's doing something like this.
Yeah.
And then they support you. But you're close people because they have that.
But me, I would appreciate someone to come through as a fan. Not, I feel bad when someone comes, is like, oh, when is your next show? I come and support. Coming from a point of doing me a favor. I'm like, man, I'm doing you a favor. It's me offering a service. You're just having to come as a fan. You're having a good time. I remember one of my boys, let me tell you, you know how bad it has to be? Like you do a show and the money is chill, man. The tickets is 30K, 40K. And the people, don't show up. Then the next day on their statuses, they posted they attended an event of like 150K. And you're like, but yeah, sometimes it kind of hurts, but I feel like I've found my tribe, my clan. There's those people who religiously come, and for me, it's those people that count for me. I'm like, yo, I'm grateful these guys have come, because by the time someone leaves their home, they shower, they look for the clothes to put on, they get on a judge or a car fuel, they come where the show is, they've carried a +1, they're buying something to eat and what. Hey, man, I don't take that for granted, for real. I don't take that for granted. So for me, yeah.
Today I shared some things on my Instagram of people being thankful that, oh, this guy even responds to our DMs. Like, I want to build a community. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm above here and you guys are down there. But somebody sends you a DM, you just look at it, it's like, I don't have time for that. No, when I have time, and I'm not saying like sometimes being quiet, but when I'm on it.
Yeah.
Like I'll respond to people,
Yeah.
make them feel appreciated, because these people, they support your show, they watch your show, they comment. Somebody commented, somebody can choose to just watch and leave. People do that.
Yeah.
If somebody took the time to stop and comment, I want to respond back to them when I have the time and just engage with your following and your community. And you mentioned something, you build your tribe.
Yeah.
So once you get that tribe, those people will always support you. For people who don't know the Mitch's Manifest, and why did you feel the need to create it?
2022, my friend reaches out to me. He's like, I won't name the festival. He's like, man, there is this festival that is going to happen. The big artists and what. And they placed me in between Coco Finger and Jose Chameleon. So I was in between. You know, imagine Coco Finger with the energy, like the audience is way up. Then you come and the audience has to listen. So I go to perform. I was, this is one of those events I was so nervous. I was like, hey. But I held myself together. I was like, you know what? Let me get to work. But somehow, like 20 seconds, it was my set. Then the DJ starts playing Chameleon's music and AK-47's music. I'm like, it's me going on next. Respect me. Then after 20 seconds in, the guy is like, you know how people are like, Akola bichebyo. One of the things that even broke my spirit, imagine you're there and like the stage manager, you're like, man, I'm next on stage. I'm a spoken word artist, and the stage manager goes on to ask bichebyo. I'm like, can you come back on Sunday and perform? I was like, hey. But I went on stage, I did my thing. The people, how at first you could hear mamas. Then after, like the festival was dead. You know how the festival, Coco Finger is on stage, everyone was all over, and now it's quiet. At first I was scared. I was like, what is happening? Then I could hear people responding. I was like, this is really good. This is the worst part. I'm almost finishing my set. You know how, man, the concentration, you're trying to remember the lines and what. The MC comes and screams in my set and is jumping on me and holding my shoulders like, I'm like, don't shout, man. Don't mess up my stuff. Actually, after I did that, I just left the stage and what. But because I remember, I usually walk. Walking is part of my creative process. I walked from Uganda Museum to town.
Wow.
Because for me, inside I was like, I thought this show was to make me. But you know how you feel like the show has kind of broken you. You're like, man, I'm going to do main stage. And the show, I was like, hey. I was like, you know what, let me try to create something where those who want me, they can come and listen. But for me, it goes back to that day, like, I realize people can listen. It depends what you're giving them. So, yeah. So, Mitch's Manifest, the show is called Mitch's Manifest. Yeah, the reason why it's called Mitch's Manifest, because this is something I always want to do. So, for it to happen, it's something I manifested. So that's why the show is called Mitch's Manifest. But we did a first show in August, 10th August 2022. I remember after the first show, I did 2 job interviews before the show. Yeah, because either get employed or be an artist. So I was in between there. I first did the job interviews, then I have a show coming up. Well, it was hard times. I had to sit down with my mom. One of the jobs I was not taking, and my sister was mad. She's like, why didn't you take it? My mom was like, you know what? Yeah, just do it. She has never attended any of my shows, but this is a woman who will call me and pray for me before the show starts. Or she will even send me like a 20K or 50K. She's like, use this money to eat or grab something to eat. So yeah. So she's one of those people that always support from the start. But when I did the first show, I told myself, if I can get 50 people, that would be good enough for me. Because I went to Goethe Zentrum, I told them my people will come. No posters. I'm just telling you, by the day of the show, I had sold 70 tickets. The first 30 people that came, I didn't know these people. I was like, what? These guys have paid money to come and watch me. the first 30 people, I didn't know them. So, yeah. So, yeah, I kept doing it and you know, for my friends who came through and stuff, yeah, I'm really grateful. So, yeah.
That's beautiful, and I'm glad we talked about the what you're doing and trying to create your own journey with something that can support your work and even support other spoken word artists to have a platform at least to do that. And for the people supporting, we really, really appreciate. Now, I had this segment where it wasn't a segment, it was a sub-segment where we're going to talk about stakeholders and the money and brands. We touched on a little bit
Yeah.
at the beginning, but do you think the poets themselves have to do something different if they want the brands to take them seriously, or it's the brands to work on themselves to recognize these poets?
I feel like, first of all, it has to come back to the poets. Like I said, there's a sentiment I said, people buy the artist and not the art. Same woman, people buy the brand. So how do poets start buying how do poets start branding themselves such that these brands, these bigger brands would want to associate with them as brands? You know what I mean? So yeah. So it has come back to it comes back to us to do our due diligence, to work on ourselves as brands and you know, like other people can actually would gladly associate with and represent their values and things they stand for. Yeah.
And I like that you answered it that way because that's a mentality I have with the podcast. Like a lot of people ask me, oh, do you ever want to have like sponsors? I feel like I need to work on myself first.
Yeah.
Make my craft really good. And a brand will see your work and be like, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that.
Just tell people, man, never go to a negotiation table when you're hungry, you know. Wrong deals happen because of desperation and stuff like that. So that's why I'm like, you need to work on yourself. There is a lot of more work to do. I feel like this might sound a little bit harsh, but talent contributes like 15% to being an artist, man. Some other things are like positioning, showing up. What is your strategy, communication, branding, a little bit of luck here and there, your social circles, your network. Yeah.
Anyway, we're almost to the end of this recording. We've been sitting here for almost an hour.
Yo, it's an hour already.
It's an hour already. And the conversation was just flowing.
Sorry.
But you mentioned that this podcast is doing a good job at archiving Ugandan stories at the very beginning, something you mentioned to me before even the recording. Why is it so important to you to be a part of that?
Right now, because some of the things I'm sharing here, these are lessons I've learned, and these are conversations I can't keep having with. There is a kid out there. There is someone out there who aspires to be an artist or a spoken word artist, and I won't have the possibility to sit down with them for 1 hour and share this information I'm sharing with you. So for me, even if it's 10 years from now, someone will try to pick a leaf from the mistakes and lessons learned from me as an artist. And yeah, man, it's, you know how we are building a castle, but everyone is bringing a small brick. So for me, I'm really honored and humbled to offer or to be part of those small building blocks to archiving the whole journey of Ugandan artists or the Ugandan story. Yeah.
Man, I enjoy your work. I enjoy when you sit down to speak. I think you had a podcast with the Baboon Forest podcast that they had on.
Oh, yeah, man. Shout out to Baboon Forest. Yeah.
But yeah, like I always love tapping in and just listening to what you have to say. And today was amazing to just hear your journey and a little bit of what you do and pick your brains. And I'm sure in the future I'll have more conversation than this. So is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you want to touch on a little bit before we go into the final segment?
No, one thing I want to say is do you have brothers?
Yeah, I have one brother. My brother is Benjamin.
I'm just worried Benjamin might sell you.
Why?
Your shirt, man. Don't you know Joseph had a coat of many colors, so his brother sold him.
Yeah, a coat of many colors. Actually, I saw this shirt. Ningambe the Sadicas, okay? It's making its debut on the podcast today. Somebody said it looks so African.
So stay away from Benjamin. Benjamin might sell you. But yeah.
That's funny. That is funny. Anyway, our final segment is rapid fire. Rapid fire is where you answer the first thing that comes to your head. You don't have to overthink. It's not complicated. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
One word that describes spoken word in Uganda right now.
Grace.
A poet who inspires you.
Original Mutabaruka.
Your biggest creative struggle.
Memorizing.
One thing poets need to stop doing.
Scared of asking for more money or money.
One thing you're excited about going into 2026.
Staying alive and being happy.
I have final three. This is also one answer questions. You tell me the first answer. What's a life lesson you've learned in life to this point?
The show always goes on, and there is what we call the curse of an artist. People don't care what you're going through. All they care is about you taking them through what they're going through. So, yeah.
What gets you excited about life?
Seeing people enjoy life, the happy moments, optimism.
Who would you like to see on this podcast next as a guest? And you help me connect me to that person.
There is a lady called Edina. She runs a podcast called Artsy. Yeah, I feel like she has a lot to say. She has a lot to say.
Anyway, that was Mitch. Thank you very much for everybody who has tuned into this podcast and listening to his journey and everything he has to say. We always like to remind you, subscribe, like, and share. And I've been your host, Bonnie Chibuka on the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Hey there, my name is Bonnie Chibuka, the podcast host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching and listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Also, leave a feedback on this podcast because that's how we grow. Thank you very much and be blessed.
My name is Mitch Isabirye. I come from a place called Arsenal because every corner is dangerous. I'm just a person who has found a way with words, so sometimes you have to admire the beauty in my imagination. When people ask me what do I do for a living, I gently respond, I do my level best. My name is whatever you choose to call me. So what is your take on corruption? You mean God has been faithful? You mean connections? I come from a place where corruption is passed on from mother to child. Every time you cried as a kid, your mother had to put her breast into your mouth and somehow you are silenced. My name is, whatever you choose to call me. So would you accept a bribe? It depends on the circumstances. It comes back to my upbringing. I was forced to eat a meal even when times I didn't want to. I come from a place where your mom will hold your nose and force porridge down your throat. So sometimes you have to choose between death and food. That is how bribes are given out in this country. My name is, I'm tired of introducing myself. So what is your take on women? You mean God's best creation, amazing creatures. What are your standards in women? I have no standards in women. I think being a woman is one of the highest standards any human can have. My name is, I can't say it in my local language. So what is your take on people who cannot speak their local languages? I call them intellectually lazy, but I can't fault them. I come from a place where mothers are not allowed to speak, so you cannot fault children for not speaking their mother tongues. So my name is, I really don't care. So what is your take on kindness and humanity? I love it when everyone is suffering, and I said what I said. Every time power goes off in my house, I step outside to see if my neighbors don't have, and it gives me satisfaction to see that we all don't have power. So my name is whatever you guys choose to call me. Welcome to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. My name is Mitch Isabirye. So yeah.
Hey, hey, man, that was deep. That was good. You had me. Hey, that was good. I think that's the best promo I've ever had on the show. Man, that was good. Thank you very much, Mitch.
Yeah, it's about home and it's about home. So yeah.
I'm glad that we're able to make this happen. I forgot to tell you this at the beginning, but I really appreciate the patience you've had with me. I know you've reached out like a while ago to do this podcast, but like you said, I believe in God's timing and God's speed. I know that God wanted this to happen today.
You can't rush greatness. So yeah, when the time is right, the time is right. Yeah. But thank you for having me as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Kaya Sebo. They'll check some pictures of you in the studio.
Oh,
and,
no.
We'll stay connected.
No worries.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I'm grateful. So Akume atakumira mpeera.
Akume atakumira mbeera, my brother. Let's stay connected. I need to have your WhatsApp. Don't mind you communicating now.
Oh, sure. I'm going to text you. I'm going to text you. I'm going to text you.
Yeah.
But you know, man, Instagram is like my LinkedIn. But yeah, I had to come.
I find it easy on Instagram. But sometimes when you're offline, I wanted to touch in with you. To just check in.
I gave you my time, and I made sure I knew because I was here like 5:30. So yeah. So I was like, yeah. But yeah.
That was good. Yeah, sometimes I'm also because you have that Ugandan thing in you.
No, man. Let me tell you, professionalism, and I had to learn the hard way. I was at grad school, and my supervisor, I would meet them at 7. But if I would show up at 7:05, they tell me, go back, you'll come back another day. And it will take you like another week to schedule. So I started getting there like 6:45.
People see this content on YouTube, but behind the scenes, there's a lot that goes on.
Oh, man.
We put a lot of investments in this, to get even the quality work. Now, you call a program no more too. Even double check. I usually check with my guests on Wednesday if we're to shoot on a Saturday. Yeah. It's like, hey, is it going to happen even the day before? I do that because I've learned from other lessons. But somebody cancels the day of the show. There's some sort of emergency which you can understand. But somebody just said, oh, I ended up going this way. Or
that's why I told you, man. My word is my bond, and me, I show up. That's why I'm telling you, man. If I give someone my word, I'm showing up on this day. Yeah, I'll show up. So yeah.
Wi-Fi yange bizemu kankuleke nga Wi-Fi tenaba kucyankana. Let's stay connected, my brother. Kaba kuba mu bifaananyi.
Sure.
Kale boss.
Bye.
Bye.
We're good.